Steve Harvey was in the middle of asking a Family Feud question when his producer did something that had never happened in the show's history. The producer walked onto the stage during filming and handed Steve a phone. What Steve heard on that call made him drop his question cards and left everyone in the studio, including Steve himself, in tears. It was Tuesday, March 12, 2024, at the Family Feud studio in Atlanta. The atmosphere was electric, as always, with two families competing for the grand prize. The Mitchell family from Texas was facing off against the Garcia family from Florida. Everything seemed routine, until one moment changed not just the game, but everyone's understanding of what sacrifice really means. The Mitchell family was doing well. They had just won the second round and were feeling confident. The family consisted of Marcus Mitchell, a 42-year-old construction worker, his mother Dorothy, his brother James, his sister Patricia, and his wife Angela. Angela Mitchell, 38, was at the far end of the family line, trying to keep her composure. But anyone watching closely could see her checking her phone between questions, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Steve noticed it too. He'd been doing this long enough to recognize when someone's mind was elsewhere. During the commercial break, he walked over to Angela. "You all right, sweetheart?" he asked quietly. "You seem like you got something heavy on your mind." Angela forced a brighter smile. "I'm fine, Mr. Harvey. Just today's a special day. That's all." "Special how?" Steve asked, genuinely curious. "It's my daughter's 10th birthday," Angela said, her voice catching slightly. "And her daddy. He's deployed. Afghanistan. He's missing it. For the 3rd year in a row." Steve's expression softened. He'd interviewed enough military families to know that pain. "How long has he been gone this time?" 14 months, Angela replied, dabbing at her eyes carefully to not smudge her makeup. "But who's counting, right?" She tried to laugh, but it came out shaky. "Listen," Steve said, putting a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Your husband's a hero, and so are you, holding it down at home. That little girl is lucky to have parents like y'all." Angela nodded, unable to speak. The stage manager called for places, and Steve returned to his position. But something about Angela's sadness stayed with him as they resumed taping. The game continued, and the Mitchell family was on a roll. They made it to the final fast money round, and Angela was chosen to go first. As she stood at the podium, Steve could see her taking deep breaths, trying to focus. "All right, Angela," Steve said warmly. "You got 20 seconds to answer 5 questions. You ready?" Angela nodded, gripping the podium edges. "Ready as I'll ever be." 20 seconds on the clock," Steve announced. "Here we go. Name something people do when they miss someone." Angela's answer was immediate and raw. "Cry themselves to sleep." The audience went quiet for a moment. Steve felt the emotional weight of her answer but kept going. "Name a holiday that's hardest to celebrate alone." "Christmas," Angela whispered, then louder. "Christmas. Number of months that feel like forever." 14, Angela said without hesitation. Steve paused for just a fraction of a second, recognizing she'd just given the exact number of months her husband had been deployed. He continued, "Name something a child wishes for." "Their daddy to come home." Angela's voice cracked. "Name something that makes you strong." "Love," Angela said, tears now flowing freely. "Love makes you strong." The buzzer sounded and the audience applauded, but it was subdued, respectful. Everyone could feel the weight of Angela's answers. They weren't trying to win a game show. They were windows into her soul. Steve walked over to Angela with a handkerchief. "You did good, baby girl. You did real good." As they were setting up for Marcus to take his turn at Fast Money, something unprecedented happened. Steve's executive producer, Marcus Freeman, walked onto the stage during active filming. This had never happened in all Steve's years hosting the show. Freeman was carrying a phone, and his face was urgent but unreadable. "Steve," Freeman said, loud enough for his mic to pick up, "you need to take this call. Right now." Steve looked confused. "Man, we're in the middle of taping. Can't this wait?" "No," Freeman said firmly. "It absolutely cannot wait. Trust me." Steve took the phone, completely bewildered. The audience was murmuring, wondering what was happening. Even the other producers looked confused. This wasn't planned. "Hello?" Steve said into the phone. The voice on the other end was crackling with distance but clear. "Mr. Harvey, this is Lieutenant Colonel James Morrison, calling from Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan." Steve's eyes widened. He looked immediately at Angela, who had gone rigid. "Yes, sir?" "Mr. Harvey, I understand you have Angela Mitchell on your show right now. Is that correct?" "Yes, sir. She's right here," Steve said, his voice careful. "Mr. Harvey, I'm calling about Staff Sergeant David Mitchell. There's been an incident." Angela must have seen something in Steve's face because she let out a small cry. "Oh, God, no! Please, no!" Steve held up his hand gently to Angela. "What kind of incident, Colonel?" "Staff Sergeant Mitchell was on patrol 3 days ago when an IED went off near his vehicle." The studio was dead silent. Angela's family had gathered around her, holding her as she shook. The colonel continued, "Mr. Harvey, I need you to know that Staff Sergeant Mitchell is alive." Steve let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "He's alive?" "He is. He was injured, but he's alive. Mr. Harvey, the reason I'm calling you now during your show is because I have someone here who needs to talk to his wife." "Can you put her on the phone?" Steve's eyes filled with tears as he understood. He walked over to Angela, who was trembling. "Angela, honey, he's okay. He's alive, and he wants to talk to you." Angela grabbed the phone with shaking hands. "David? David, is that you?" The voice that came through the phone was weak but unmistakable. Steve had walked close enough that his mic picked it up. "Hey, beautiful. I'm okay. I'm okay." Angela collapsed to her knees, sobbing. "Oh my God, David. They said there was an incident. I thought. "I know, baby. I know. But I'm okay. I've got some bumps and bruises, but I'm coming home." "What?" Angela's head snapped up. "You're coming home? That's why the colonel called during your show, Angie. I wanted to tell you in front of everyone. I'm done. My tour's over. I got hurt bad enough that they're sending me home, but not so bad that I won't make a full recovery. Baby, I'm coming home." The entire studio was in tears. Steve had to wipe his eyes to continue listening. "When?" Angela asked, her voice desperate. "When are you coming home?" There was a pause on the line. Then David said something that made everyone gasp. "Angie, baby, I need you to turn around." Angela turned slowly, and there, walking onto the Family Feud stage in full military uniform, with his left arm in a sling and bandages visible on his neck, was Staff Sergeant David Mitchell. The studio erupted. Angela scrambled to her feet and ran to her husband, jumping into his good arm. Their embrace was so powerful, so full of relief and love, that even the camera operators were crying. David held his wife with his one good arm, burying his face in her hair. "I'm home, baby. I'm home for good." "How?" Angela pulled back to look at his face, touching it like she couldn't believe he was real. "How are you here?" David smiled through his own tears. "The colonel pulled some strings. When they heard you were going to be on Family